You were looking live here in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah for the DNA Sports Recap. This is DNA HQ coming at you. My name is Darren. That is AJ. What's going on, AJ?
What up?
How's it going, my man?
I'm doing great, buddy. I'm doing great as always. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Sorry for the delay, folks. We normally do this on a Wednesday night, but your boy has a day job and couldn't be
So
helped.
lame.
Couldn't be helped. I was in
So
Dallas,
lame.
which was
Beautiful
nice.
place though.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Was
good.
it cold down there? I mean, I know they had
Yes.
some winter. I know they had some winter weather in Texas.
It was really, really cold.
Yeah,
I
like
figured-
Utah cold.
Yeah. It was cold.
It's
Not
crazy.
9 degrees cold, but it was cold, man. Like
Yeah.
28 degrees one day, and I thought I'd be fine not wearing a jacket. And
And you
Dallas.
immediately regretted that decision.
yeah, I'm just like, ooh,
Yeah.
not smart. But yeah, so I was traveling. Thank you guys for your patience on that. For us not having our content out this show yesterday. We normally have it on Wednesdays around 7:30 ish, and today is when we're doing it because we have jobs. Just kind of how it works.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's
It's inconvenient for us too.
It is kind of. It is a little bit. But anyway, folks, if you're watching this live on our live stream, please feel free to jump into the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. We are going to have a bunch of topics we're going to cover today, and we're going to cover those topics as we go through. Please feel free to jump in if you have a comment you'd like to make, or if there's something you'd like to talk about that we have not talked about in that given sport or topic. Please feel free to chime in. Make sure you give us a rate and review if you're listening to this on. This is just for you guys. This part, so that's not something we need to talk about. But
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to say on the live stream?
No. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. All right. So let's do the pre-show cheers.
Yes.
Cheers to you.
Cheers to you guys.
Still sipping on the Long Branch this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Believe we shot a podcast of that.
Video for that. A whiskey review for that. It's coming here shortly.
Yeah. Who's making that one? Is that me or you?
I think that's me.
Okay.
I think you did the last one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me then.
I just realized.
Huh.
We need to do another whiskey review on something from High West.
Yes, we do.
Because we just had experience there at brunch. It'd be great to use that content for something.
Yeah.
So it'd be great.
Yeah, we do need to.
Yeah. Once again, folks, if you're watching this live, please feel free to jump in the comments. We'd love to hear from you, where you're watching from, and all that good stuff. So please feel free to say hi. And if you have absolutely nothing to say, just say hi. Tell us your favorite color. AJ wants to know your favorite
I do
color.
want to know your favorite color. Yeah, as long as it's red. If it's blue, don't even waste your time.
From the guy who's wearing a very, very vibrant blue pullover right now.
Hey, go Utes.
I like it. It. All right. So you want to go ahead and jump into the podcast then?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hello, Internet. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. On today's episode of the DNA Sports Recap,
let's talk college football playoff. And is 12 teams enough?
With your Utah Hockey Club, is a copyright issue going to change the new name?
The Jazz have made a trade. Let's break it down.
In Major League Baseball, what will the Los Angeles Dodgers rotation look like?
And we're back on it. Are the Dodgers bad for baseball? Let's talk about it.
All that and more. My name is Darren. This is AJ, and this is the DNA Sports Recap.
Roll the intro.
How's it going, AJ?
Doing great, buddy. I'm doing great. I'm so ready to just talk sports and drink whiskey.
Absolutely. Let's do that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Once again, folks, go ahead, feel free to jump in the comments down below. Let us know where you're watching from. If you are listening to this on our podcast, a rate and review would be greatly appreciated. If you're watching this on YouTube, we just hit 1,000 subscribers a couple months ago. Once we hit $500 in AdSense revenue, we will be giving that back to you guys. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on that giveaway. All right, so let's go ahead and first jump into the first topic of today, which is college football.
Yeah.
So we just wrapped up the college football season, and man, I'd love to just get into it and just gnaw on a little bit and shoot the what about the college football playoff in its entirety.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk? Let's first talk about the game. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Championship game.
Yeah, I mean the championship game was fantastic. I mean, I know you didn't get to catch a whole lot of it because obviously you were working and stuff, but
day jobs.
to just give everyone a quick rundown and just chat about it real quick. I mean, Notre Dame comes out and they stormed out the gate, man. I mean, they put together a drive that was just under 10 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looked like they were going to win this game and they were going to do it the Notre Dame way.
Oh,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean? Like it was grinded out, run of the football. Riley Leonard is just fucking Riley Leonard is just beast moding, like running the ball. Like, I mean, I was really excited because I predicted Ohio State to win this football game, but I did think that I really did want Notre Dame to actually win.
Right.
So it was fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, and watching that first drive, I thought it was going to be a really good game because I was like, okay, obviously Notre Dame showed up, they're ready to play.
Yep.
And then Ohio State got the football.
Yeah, yeah.
So they just came out and scored and scored and scored. They put together 3 drives. I mean, their first one was like just over 6 minutes, 11 plays, 75 yards. Their second one, almost identical, just over 6 minutes, 10 plays, 76 yards. And then their last one's a little bit faster, 426, 12 plays, 80 yards. They just were putting it on Notre Dame before halftime. And we obviously go into half at like 21-7. So the game did end up coming back a little bit. You know what I mean? Like Ohio State did end up getting a couple more scores, but Notre Dame did make a football game out of it. They ended up getting a score. They got it within 8 at one point. Then then Ohio State does kick a field goal, kind of puts the game out of reach.
Yeah.
But it was a good game. It was actually at least a game.
Yeah. So when going into halftime, it's down 21-7. You're looking at like, this is gonna be a blowout. And so this is not what you want for the first, like, championship game of this format. You're wanting two teams a little bit more evenly matched being out there. So when you're basically just kind of looking at that, you're like, oh wow, okay.
And it was especially rough because then they come out right after halftime and score again.
Yes. Yeah. So
I mean, 28-7 right after halftime.
Yeah. So it didn't look great coming out of halftime, and you're just kind of worried about, okay.
It was like borderline, should I turn it off?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, okay, this might be getting out of hand anytime now.
Right. Which is unfortunate and definitely not what you wanted, but what you really like to see is how well of a job that Notre Dame did to make a game out of it, come back to it, get it within, a kick, a field goal, and a touchdown. Just get the ball back, get down there, get within field goal range.
Well, they got it close. They got it within 8.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm saying. Like they get one more touchdown, they get the ball back.
2-point conversion. Yeah,
yeah, you get close. So there's definitely some late game heroics there that could have happened. That shoulda, coulda, woulda. But that field goal really kind of iced it there. I think it was that play though. That was that last play that.
Well, it was Ohio State. I mean, they had that 3rd and long that they needed. They needed that play to kind of ice the game.
Yeah,
they end up throwing the ball 70 yards down the field. He makes a fantastic play on the ball. That puts him in field goal range. They kick the field goal, put him up 11, which essentially ices the game for him, right? So
for sure.
And that play, I mean, Notre Dame had just used their couple of timeouts to save as much clock as they could. And if they could have gotten a stop there, they've got like 2 minutes left and getting the ball back.
Yeah.
Instead, they give up a huge passing play that just really flipped and, turned the game over. So it was a good one though. Will Howard for Ohio State played fantastic. The dude he made plays that was like, okay, this guy belongs in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, and he's not a first round projected draft pick, which I don't know how he's not. I mean, he performed wonderfully. He made some passes with great precision. He made really good decisions. But he's only projected to go in like the 3rd round.
That's what I was looking for. I'm like, where is he going to go? But
yeah, it's 3rd round. Yeah. Because me and Steph were actually talking about it mid game. She's like, he's got to be a 1st round pick, and I'm like, no.
Wow.
We pulled it up. Yeah, sure enough, he's only projected to go like 3rd round. So, but yeah, so it was a great game. I'm glad I had it. But this whole game, this really brings the big question that we want to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the debate on, is 12 teams enough? Is it too much? How do we feel about the 12-team format? And what do we do?
So I mean, I hate to be the type of person who buries it right in the first line when you ask that kind of question. Just be like, yep, and then that'd be it. But that's basically kind of how I feel. I think if we go beyond 12 teams, I think you're going to run into a lot more situations where teams like Indiana get in, and teams that arguably are what some consider didn't deserve to be there in the first place.
Right.
So if you get into that aspect of it, and you get in, you already have the conference champions. You got Arizona State, Oregon, Georgia, um, Boise State was the other one.
Yeah, Boise State was in it.
Yeah, so it's just like, okay,
Arizona State. You said Arizona State, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, like we talked about last week, there's the bye week, and then all the teams that had the 2 weeks off,
Every
all
single one of them
lost.
lost. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, obviously, like I mentioned before, that's just going to be a learning period. These coaches and these programs need to learn how to adapt to that. That's probably the first one that did that. They're probably just like, great, we got 2 weeks off. We can get everybody healthy. Not
Yeah.
realizing that not getting game reps in and not, playing football, it will get you.
Yeah,
get
it
you
was actually getting you eliminated.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate, and you hate to see it, but honestly, these teams have been so good all year. They should have performed better. Like, it's kind of like, what are you really doing there?
And I think my problem with this format, with 12-team format, is there 12 teams in college football that are actually evenly matched?
Right.
Because the fact is we saw in that first round teams that came in that had great seasons, but I think you see the huge disparity in levels of competition throughout the season.
Mhm.
Indiana had a great season for the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah,
they did. I mean, they looked great all through the season. They played a really good team in the first round, and guess what? They got their butts kicked because their Big Ten schedule was not equal to everybody else's Big Ten schedule, and their undefeated or close to undefeated record just it wasn't the same thing.
Mhm.
So realistically, is there 12 evenly matched teams in college football? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't definitely not this year.
I don't know if there ever is, though.
Think that, take that to another sport, right? Like, let's just take it across the proverbial turf to the hardwood and stay in college basketball.
Yeah.
There's how many teams make the dance? Like 65 or whatever it is.
I think it's 128.
120. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah, because the first is the group of 64.
Oh, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's 128 teams.
Yeah, you're right. And the playing round.
But a Cinderella story works in basketball, right? The problem with college football is you can't have a Cinderella story in college football because the teams at the top are too deep.
That's true. There's, as far as the separations on that, you're absolutely right. It'd be, I would say it could work in college basketball, but you would, if you were to do something similar that college basketball does with college football, you would rob what makes the NCAA basketball tournament great, which is a team making it to the Elite Eight that had no business being there, or a team that just gets hot, right? Becomes, like you said, Cinderella story. They're just not the opportunity when there's 6 games and 12 teams that can do that, so it's like you kind of run into the position where you're like, okay, I think that there's room for improvement on the 12-team playoff. I don't think it's necessary to expand it to 16, is what everybody seems to want to do.
Yeah, I don't know if because the thing is what you're looking for is 16 teams that are evenly matched talent-wise and depth-wise. There was one team that was far above everybody else in talent and depth, and that team was Ohio State.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Oregon.
No,
going into
Oregon. Oregon was the most talented regular season team.
Yes,
right, no doubt about it. They were undefeated. They played excellent. They got a break. They got their butts kicked by a team that was deeper, that didn't need a first round bye, right? Because they had a bunch of momentum. And Ohio State, through all their injuries, was a deeper team that was more talented.
For sure.
And in college football, if you are deeper and more talented, you're going to win a national championship. Ohio State came all the way from the number 7 seed to win it. So that means that last year in the 14 playoffs, they wouldn't even have been sniffing it.
No,
they wouldn't even have been in
snub. They wouldn't have been a snub at all.
They would have been, you know what I mean? They wouldn't even have been in the college football playoff. So from that perspective, yes, absolutely. What we're seeing is an evolution of college football because it shows that the deepest teams and the most talented teams have a chance to win a national championship, regardless of how they finish in their conference.
Right.
Which is great stuff, right? Notre Dame, again, these guys had one loss early in the year to a really bad team. They were the number, I think, 7 seed.
No, Ohio was.
Was Ohio 7? Okay, maybe they were 8 then.
Yeah, I think so.
The fact is Notre Dame doesn't have a chance to play in the college football playoff last year.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're out because they had one loss.
Yeah.
I mean, that 14 playoff would have been, well, and it's real iffy, right? Because you say, obviously the top 4 teams this year were the 4 that got buys essentially. But if you would have just gone the same formatting as last year, it would have been Oregon, Georgia, Texas, and Arizona. No, not even Arizona State. I can't remember the 4th school.
Yeah, so
Penn State.
That's kind of where I'm sitting at, right? So Oregon won the Big Ten.
Correct.
And then Ohio State won the college football playoff.
Yep.
Does that diminish Oregon State's conference championship? Because a team in their conference won the whole dang thing.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. They are not the powerhouse in the Big Ten conference, because guess what? They couldn't win.
You won the conference championship. Congratulations.
Yeah, you're a conference champion.
But it doesn't mean anything because you got your Hennessy in the first round that you played.
First round. Yep.
So I don't know, man. That brings college football to very much a pro level, but it does kind of diminish the value of being a conference conference champion. Which brings me to the other thing about the ACC commissioner, Jim Phillips. Did you hear what he said?
No.
Oh my gosh, this is great. So what he proposed is actually, before we get into that, let's go ahead and hit a comment here real quick. We got Greg Hawkins, channel legend Greg Hawkins, saying,
absolutely.
The expanded CFP ironically made me less interested in watching each matchup. Yeah, I agree.
See, and I disagree.
I agree with him because there were definitely some games that I just simply I was not into.
I love college football, and I thought all of these matchups were really good. So I was excited to watch college football every single week, because I watched of these, how many games was it? Right? The first 8. I watched probably 90% of these games, start to finish. I thought it was great football. I loved it. I think the problem was some of these games were blowouts, so I may not have watched all the way through, but I turned every single matchup on, and I was interested to see what product was getting put on the field and if these guys were going to show up and make it into a football game. Because if they do, and there's a chance for it to be a Cinderella story like we're talking about, that was the whole glory to this first 12-team playoff was, is there a Cinderella story out there, right? Is Boise State good enough to win 3 games and become national champions?
Right. But I think if that happens, college football is different than college basketball. I think in college football, you'd hear a lot of uproar about the fact that the Boise State had no business being in the college football playoff, and they won the conference.
Well, that's exactly what we did here.
So that kind of sentiment is just a little, I don't think it's a match. I think you can't, like you mentioned, it's not the same. And I don't think that those two could be combined. What I agree with on Greg Hawkins is I was completely out that first round. I'm like, okay, once Oregon's playing somebody, then I'll watch. But all these other teams, that didn't win their conference, like I don't really care to see an at-large bid play another at-large bid. And whoever comes out of that, I'll wait until the actual conference champions are actually playing. See, so that's kind of how my mindset was.
I thought the matchups were actually pretty decent. Let me pull.
They were good. I'm just saying it just wasn't. I just felt like it was one of those things where it just wasn't worth watching until the conference champions were playing.
Yeah.
That might be something I adjust going forward, but yeah, I kind of agree with him on that one. We got the ACC commissioner Jim Phillips said that he came out with a couple of ideas on how he would change things.
Okay,
and his one is be like the regular season champion, right, goes on to the college football playoff. So in this case, Oregon would just for the Big Ten would just go right, and who?
So there's no conference championship. Is that what you're saying?
There is.
Okay, so still the conference champion.
So
okay.
So whoever was who had the first seed in the ACC? Georgia didn't.
No, it was SMU.
Yeah. So
Clemson was the conference champion. Clemson beat SMU in the conference championship game.
Okay, so SMU had the best record.
Correct.
Before the conference championship.
Correct. Yep.
They get an automatic bid. They go in to the playoffs.
Okay.
Right. Then the next 2 teams play for the conference championship. And then that conference gets the other bid.
That winner gets the next bid.
Yes.
From each conference.
Yes. So
okay.
That's his idea.
I think I like that better, because if that was with that being said, with the ACC, what you have is SMU or Clemson being the conference champion gets an automatic bid. And then, but it expands it one more level, right?
Right.
Because now this playoff, now you have a conference champion bid between SMU and Miami for that next slot to play the next team.
Yeah. So the only issue with
which is a great game. SMU Miami is a great game to see.
Right. The issue is with this one though is that it's for a team for a conference like the ACC, who could very rarely, just like the Big 12, could very likely be a one conference representative, one team representing that conference. This is kind of his way of saying, push more chips in the middle. And if you're telling me that happens, and you've got so in this case, SMU got through because they had the best record, right? And then you have Miami playing. Who'd you have in this scenario?
It would have been Miami versus SMU, and then Clemson would have moved forward in this year's college.
Okay, so Clemson went forward because they had the best record.
No, because they won the conference championship.
No, because it can't be them. So whoever had the best record before SMU would go straight forward.
Yep.
Then from SMU, then you would have Miami playing Clemson.
Okay, yeah.
For the conference championship.
Okay.
Right. So if Miami beats Clemson, even though Clemson had a great year and just lost in the conference championship, and their strength of schedule, could you really hold them back from having a potential third team being represented? Because in this so that's basically what they're trying to in this case.
See, but I like that though, because if you've got two teams that are that closely matched and someone that really brings a different product, right? Out of the group of 4 teams, if you've got a team that really stands out and they just lost in that last second game and they make it in, it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of the Indiana deal this year, though, right? Because the Big Ten already had a bunch of teams. The Big Ten already had Oregon coming out. They already had Ohio State coming out. Like, they already had Penn State coming in? Like,
yeah,
those 3 teams were the powerhouses in the Big Ten. Indiana squeaks in and makes it the 4th team out of the Big Ten to make it into this top 12, and it's like, and guess what? They get their butts kicked by Notre Dame in the first round.
Right.
No, I mean, Notre Dame literally bus rolled these guys.
Mm-hmm.
It was embarrassing, right? Like, these guys didn't deserve to be here.
Right.
And Notre Dame has a great game in the second round. They beat a really good Georgia team without their starting quarterback.
Right. Second string. Yeah.
But I think that changes the whole dynamic as far as if you're a conference champion and a runner up to a conference champion, like my question to you is the team that's bad, right? You say that SMU is maybe one team that maybe didn't deserve to be in there. Do you think BYU beats Penn State in that first round?
See, that's the rub. So in this situation, now you have the option to do this. So basically, so then you have 2 teams so then the second one that won the conference would go. The only issue with this though is that I cannot be okay with the fact that whoever the best team was in your conference that year
doesn't get a chance.
Doesn't play in the conference championship game.
Yeah,
that's the only problem I have with this. I'm like, that just doesn't seem right.
Yeah,
it completely devoids.
But you have a chance to become the college football playoff champion. You have a chance to be the national champion. If you're that good, you could be the national champion.
Yeah, instead of just But then would you even have a shot if you got your butt kicked by?
All it does is drastically devalue conference championships, though.
Right. So that's kind of where I'm sitting on that.
Yeah.
The other option that he came up with was the at-large bids being 3-3 and 2-2. So you got the Big Ten and the Big Ten and the SEC get 3 bids. And then the ACC and the Big 12 get 2.
I don't like any of these teams just getting auto bids.
Well, just to your point, any time of the year, those 2 conferences are going to have the better football teams in college football.
But the better football teams is so relative to what their schedule is, right? You sit here and tell me that sorry, I'm just zooming in. Indiana was the number 8 seed going into this.
Mm-hmm.
The number 8 seed with their record that did not play for a conference championship. They got their butts kicked by Notre Dame in the first round.
Right.
At Notre Dame, they went there and got their butts kicked.
And that makes another sense.
And you want to tell me that conference deserves 4 teams? The Big Ten is a very top-heavy conference. Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, those are the 3 powerhouses in the Big Ten.
And then you're gonna have SEC argue that they should be the team that has 4 conferences in there.
Exactly.
4 teams in there from their conference in there.
And they're gonna say it's, and obviously not particularly this year, but Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, Alabama. Those 4 teams deserve to be in there every single year.
Yeah, regardless. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I think both of these options are something to consider. I like the idea of having what they were talking about there, but I just can't get past the fact you're not having the best team in your conference with the best record playing your conference championship.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can't get past on that. But we'd love to hear from you on that, folks. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. If you have a better way of doing this, if you think they need to expand beyond 12 teams, do you think 12 is enough? Do we need to go down to 8?
Yeah.
Want to hear from you. Let us know what you think in the comments down below.
We got some comments, actually. Let's read them.
So we have another one from Greg Hawkins here. They said it's just so hard to care. Yeah, dude, I'm with you on that one. I know AJ doesn't. I know he likes the early matchups, but
I'm a hardcore college football fan though, right? Like some of these matchups were really, really cool. And I was really excited to see most of them, right? Tennessee, Ohio State in the first round. That's a huge matchup. You don't ever get to see Tennessee play Ohio State. Clemson, Texas, another big game that Clemson is a ridiculously talented team. Every single year they do great in the recruiting. They do great in the transfer portal. Did they have a chance to play Texas? And with a chance to play Texas, did they have a chance to beat them? I thought yes. Obviously, Texas kicked their butt.
Right.
But all of these first round matchups were super intriguing to me. I was like, okay, this could be some really good football. It didn't end up being great football, right? It showed that teams were drastically overmatched to what they should have been.
Yeah.
But I thought that it had a potential to be good football. And I feel like with some changes to how this is seeded, it could be really good football.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And I think it's just an odd year. I think you're spot on when we were talking about the fact that there's just not 12 teams
exactly
equal level. I think it's just an odd year for that.
Yeah. Oh, McKinley Cutler's back. Hey, buddy.
Welcome back to the channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
BYU beats SMU in the regular season. They should have gotten in. Exactly.
And I agree with you. I agree with you because I think if BYU plays Penn State in the first round, I think BYU beats Penn State. And then I think BYU beats Boise State. And now you're BYU 2 rounds in.
Yeah, but how many losses did BYU have?
2?
I don't think a 2-loss Big 12 team gets
it. Well, that was exactly the problem, is because they didn't.
Yeah. Like, I just don't think that's the mindset that they're going to,
because they weren't even playing for a conference championship. The only team from the Big 12 that got in was Arizona State, and they were the conference champion.
Yeah. So I don't know. I agree with you there. If BYU had one less loss, then I think that we would have had 2 teams. Then Indiana wasn't going to be in. And
the problem is I still think BYU is a better football team than SMU was. They beat them in the regular season,
but they didn't finish the season well enough. Like they took their losses where they didn't need to.
Yeah.
Agree with you on that one, man. We definitely agree with you there, McKinley, on that one. Or someone else, BYU could have just not lost 2 stupid.
I mean, that's exactly it. They don't lose 2 games in the end of the season, and it's completely different season.
Absolutely. We got another one from Greg Hawkins, Boise State, Penn State, Notre Dame, Indiana. Yeah, exactly, man. Like, it's just, who does Boise State actually play throughout the year other than the blue field? Like, what's intriguing about that team?
What's intriguing about Boise State is they ran the whole field through the Mountain West Conference. They beat every single team in the Mountain West Conference, became conference champion, and the only loss that Boise State took on the whole season was to Oregon at Autzen. Right. That's the only loss they had, and they gave them every single thing they could take at Autzen Stadium.
Yeah.
So it showed that Boise State in a regular season game was ready to run with Oregon, who was the no doubt about it best team in college football throughout the regular season.
I think Boise State had a chance to be in a better conference this year, and they didn't take it. And then so they played against inferior talent throughout the year. And
they took their chance. They took their chance to the next season, right? Obviously, the Pac-12 fell apart. They couldn't join the conference this year. Mm-hmm. They're going to join it next year. They're going to be part of the Pac-12 conference next year.
That's true.
So, but Boise State they were a dominant team in college football last year. They beat teams handily. They had the best running back in all of college football.
Yeah.
I don't care who you like. Ashton Jeanty was ridiculous the whole year. He was great. The team looked good. They deserve to be in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They deserve to be in the top 12.
Greg Hawkins also said Penn State, SMU, like, what are they doing here? Yeah, I don't know, man. Penn State, I could understand you with the SMU, but Penn State, man, that was a good team. That was a good football team this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Penn State won some games that was questionable. Like, Penn State was the one team that I was just like, this team could go either way. They're ridiculously talented, right? James Franklin has done such a good job with that program year in and year out. They just keep winning. They keep grinding. They keep doing a great job recruiting. And then the transfer portal comes, and it's like, there's players that want to go and play at Penn State. They have a great stadium. They have a great crowd. Like, this is a team that people want to go play for. I think that, I mean, SMU, I'm not sure how SMU made it in because they were one of the best regular season teams. Their only losses to BYU early in the year. Mm-hmm. They lose the conference championship game. And the thing is the college football playoff committee could not say that they couldn't devalue a conference championship game by saying your loss to Clemson, because what's going to happen is all teams are going to say is, well, I don't want to play in the conference championship game then, because my loss is going to keep me out of the college football playoff chances.
If you already have a loss during the season.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not going to do it. So they had to put SMU in.
Yeah. So then, it would make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, dude, I love it. This is such good conversation, though.
Like, it really is.
I love it. I think that it's something that's going to be. I think it's going to be changed. I think they can make it better. I think the field this year was good, but I think a little bit of tweaking could have made the games that much better. I look forward to it, man. I think it's going to be fantastic moving forward.
Absolutely. Once again, folks, we want to hear from you. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. We're giving away the first $500 a year in AdSense revenue back to our subscribers. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on that giveaway. Also, make sure if you are watching this on YouTube, the whole episode is available as a podcast. Make sure you rate and review us on there as well.
Hit that McKinley Coulter comment real quick.
Oh, we're going to get to that before we move on for sure. See here, Nate Cam
Scatterbo. Cam Scatterbo separated himself.
Scatterbo.
Cam Scatterbo separated himself as the best running back against Texas.
He was really good.
Looked as good against a real team.
Scatterbo
looked ridiculous.
Unstoppable.
I think that Ash and Gene T, I think the problem that you saw with Ash and Gene T is Cam Scatterbo had an offensive line from a Power 4 school. And you look much better when you got guys that can actually block. The Arizona State offensive line is much, much better than the Boise State offensive line. Ashton Jean T will be a star in the NFL, mark my words.
I don't agree. I don't disagree on that, but I think I agree with McKinley on that one. I think Scatterbo was probably the best running back I saw all season for sure. He's like, nah.
Jean T was a joke, man.
Got you, buddy. I got you. All right, so let's go ahead and pivot on over. Anything else you want to talk about on college football? Now that we're 45 minutes into this episode.
Jeez, that was a little too much, huh? It's crazy because we're like,
point, right?
But it's funny though because we're like, well, this will be a short episode or a short clip. We'll just run through it real quick.
Yeah, it's funny. All right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your Utah Hockey Club.
I'll jump into it, man. Yeah. So Utah Hockey Club, right? Guys, welcome back, obviously. So the Utah Hockey Club, we're facing some trademark hurdles, right? The preferred name, as far as we believe as Utah Hockey Club fans, is the Utah Yeti. Obviously,
some people prefer.
Yeah, some people prefer. But obviously the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office rejected the application due to a likelihood of confusion with the existing Yeti brand of coolers and issues, period.
Yeah, before we move on for that, I want to talk about that first.
Okay.
Utah Yetis was the name that got submitted and got rejected.
Correct.
I've been on the record very clear about this. I do not like the pluralization of Yetis. I think they put it in the pluralization. It
needs to be singular.
So they wouldn't have to deal with this issue.
Right.
And I think the issue happened anyway, which is unfortunate because I just don't. The Utah Yeti is just much better than the Utah Yetis. Are they a bunch of like?
Is it a whole herd of Yetis?
That's like
it's a whole herd, man.
Yeah, it's not great. I don't like it. But anyway, sorry, keep going. What were you saying?
Oh, I mean, you pretty much nailed it though, right? Like, so obviously April 9th is like their deadline. They have till April 9th to appeal, provide more evidence supporting that they deserve to use Yeti however they want to use it, right? There's obviously other potential team names. They've still got Utah Blizzard, Utah Venom, Utah Outlaws. But funny enough, Utah Hockey Club was actually rejected.
Yep.
On the grounds that Utah is too generic to be trademarked.
Yeah.
Yep. You can't trademark the word Utah. That's a state.
Guess not.
So I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts on this, right? Like obviously Yeti's going to face some hurdles. I've got one more side that I want to pitch to you, but I want to hear your opinion on this first.
So let's talk about the 6 potential names, right? So Utah Blizzard, Utah Mammoth, Utah Outlaws, Utah Hockey Club, Utah Venom, and Utah Yetis were all submitted, right? Utah Blizzard and the Utah Hockey Club, Utah Venom, and Utah Yeti were all rejected. The only two the Blizzard was rejected. Utah Outlaws and Utah Mammoth were the only two that weren't.
Right.
4 names were rejected. 2 were not. due to likelihood concerns with confusion of existing brands, whatever you have there. You mentioned there that they have 3 months from January 9th to respond to this evidence. This is one of the things that was said from there. While facing setbacks, Utah fans are incredibly supportive of the team and are stay committed to be involved with the community on the final decision. Here's what I'm thinking, man. I think it doesn't matter. I think this was by design. They did. There's a reason why there hasn't been another poll that came out after we got the top 5 or top 6 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's a reason why there's not another poll that's come out, because this was the plan all along. They're going to submit trademarks for the 5 most popular, the 6 most popular, and see which ones we're going to come back just to see which ones we're going to require more effort to secure an actual name. I don't think this changes the chance for the Utah Hockey Club to have the Utah Yeti, or the Utah Hockey Club or the Utah Outlaws be their name. I just think that this just lets them know which names are going to be a little bit more effort. And while Utah Outlaws and Utah Mammoth weren't contested at all, I think the team is just doing some smart research to make sure they understand what their next steps are going to be.
Do you want to know my take on this, which is in an article on KSL today?
What's that?
I've got 2 words for you, and it's Seattle Kraken. Do you have any idea what that has to do with this?
I saw their name on the article that popped up that came up earlier today, because there was an article 2 days ago and there's another one today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like to hear what you think.
Okay.
Seattle Kraken.
The Seattle Kraken, obviously, I don't know if you've ever heard of Kraken rum.
Oh, are you kidding me? Really?
So when the Seattle Kraken first introduced their name, guess what happened?
Did they not get a patent for it?
They absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office said you cannot use the name Kraken.
And so they just did anyway?
No. You know what they did? Guess who their very first partnership was as soon as they named the team?
Yeah, I saw
Kraken Rum.
Yeah, I saw
Release the Kraken.
Yeah.
Why would Utah Hockey Club not partner with Yeti?
Well, I just think honestly,
if they want to use the name, partner with Yeti. You put Utah Yeti on every damn cup those guys own.
I don't know, man. I think, like I said, I just don't think that that's where their heads are at. I just don't think they care at this point. That may be the end goal. Brody Brazil had a great point about that on his video about teams potentially partnering or just simply circumventing the patent office altogether and just being like, hey, let's work this out. Let's figure it out.
Right.
Are you gonna feel impinged about the fact that our team says Utah Yeti while your cups say Yeti? As long as they're like a completely different font, is it really going to infringe? Can we work something out? I think that's something that Brody Brazil talked about in his video on this. But yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, it's just a launching off point for those kind of things. I just think it's just everybody's worried about something that was just part of the original plan already anyway, and maybe we want to go, but the fact that it was Yetis and not Yeti is the part that really irks me. Just because I don't want this team to be called the Utah Yetis. I think that just sounds ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
You're really against the plurals, and I love it.
I am. It's just dumb. Why would you want to pluralize Yeti?
It's really funny because you've been saying this since the original naming came out. You're like, it's better. It better be singular.
It better
Outlaw.
Be. Utah Outlaws, way better than the Utah Outlaws.
Venoms.
Yeah, you can't say Venoms. Like, that's one's not even pluralized. Like, it's great. Yeah, the Utah Mammoth was submitted without a pluralized. So that's why it's now my new favorite. Because the Mammoth isn't pluralized. So I'm down with that. But yeah, no, I don't know, man. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good point. It does kind of I just think everybody's kind of getting way too ahead, way too in front of the skis on this one. I just think it's just a normal part of the process. We'll see what happens next.
Right. They're going to work it out. Like, if that's the name they want, they're going to submit whatever they need to and show that, hey, this is a hockey team, Utah Yeti, that they'll always be together or whatever, right? Like, it'll always be the Utah Yeti. We won't just be Yeti.
Yeah, it's not just gonna have a shirt that just says Yeti on it,
Yeah, and it won't be the Y, block letters, whatever.
Yeah, they'll submit an appeal and it'll all be good. I just think it's part of the process.
Let's get to some of these comments, man.
Greg Hawkins jumps in and says, good, Yeti sucks.
Great point. Still not a biggest fan of Yeti.
Yeah, I hate that nickname. Yeah, for sure. You also put in here Yeti, gross. It just sounds gross. And merch, I don't want
snow monster on all of my shirts.
Exactly. And like, there's gonna be a whole group of them, or is it just one? And so if you have one,
it's a bunch of them. It's a whole herd of Yetis.
So if you have a Yeti on your shirt, but we're called the Yetis, like, or is it just gonna be a whole bunch of abominable snowmen?
Yeah, it has to be multiple Yetis on your shirt. It can't just be one, because The trademark name is Yetis.
Yeah, I just not a big fan. And then Utah Hockey Club is partnered with Stanley, and Yeti doesn't. Oh, that's a good point.
On the Stanley branded merchandise. I didn't know that. Are they
Yeah.
partnered with Stanley?
Yeah, they're Stanley mugs and
I did
Swig.
not actually know that.
Yeah, if you look at every Jazz game, they have the Stanley cups.
Yeah,
with the Swig logo on them.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
so you see that also. You assume it'd be the same for the hockey. I haven't seen the cups on there on the broadcast.
Isn't the state of Utah just like formally associated with Stanley mugs? Like I feel like it's totally a Utah thing.
Well, the mom talks. Yeah.
Where's your Stanley cup at? I'm sure there's one in here somewhere, Darren.
I don't have a Stanley cup.
Dang.
I have 3 Yetis though.
See, actually, I don't think I have a Stanley. I do have some Yetis. Though.
Yeah, I got a couple of Yetis.
Funny as that is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just don't think you're going to confuse the two, man. I just think you're going to have different. As long as the font isn't the same, and as long as the Utah Hockey Club doesn't have Yeti on there without Utah on it, I think it'd be just fine, man. Doesn't make any sense to me why it's a problem. Anyway, we want to hear from you folks. Let us know what you think in the comments down below when it comes to your Utah Hockey Club. Are you concerned about this copyright issue? Does it mean anything to you? Is it something, nothing, or is it everything? You know, I don't know. I kind of think of it as a nothing burger.
Yeah, make sure you guys leave us a comment. So let us know what your favorite name is for the new Utah Hockey Club renaming. We want to hear it.
Yeah. So on the concept of the Utah Hockey Club, by the way, did you notice that we gained some distance over the last few weeks?
Yeah, we've been winning.
Yeah. So we've got last time we've talked the last 2 episodes in a row before we talked about the upcoming homestand in January where they had 8 straight games at home. And then when we talked about how that wasn't going well, how they were 1-3 in the homestand. Since then, they have gained, let's see here. If I look at let me look at this as it is now.
Yeah. And Greg Hawkins just commented saying they're up 3-0 on the Wild right now. Which is funny because I just got a notification on my watch that they're leading 3-0.
Oh, nice. So if we go into the standings there, we go into the Western Conference standings right now. That's the wild card. Don't care about that. That's the Eastern. Why isn't this scrolling?
My whiskey's empty.
This is great content here.
It's horrible.
So right now the top seed is we're back down to 10 again. The top 7 make it into the playoffs. So we're back down to 10.
We're down to 10.
Yeah, we're back down to 10 again. So yeah, that kind of shot. But did we lose yesterday or something? What happened? No, they've won 2 in a row. So why aren't we sitting at we're sitting closer? I don't know. We'll have to dive into that in another future episode for sure. But yeah, we want to hear from you folks. Let us know what you think in the comments down below when it comes to that. What's your preferred name? If it's not the Utah Yeti, Utah Hockey Club, which one do you prefer? Do you think they're going to go after one of the non-competitive ones, or what do you think is going to happen there? We'd love to hear from you. All right, let's go ahead and pivot on over and talk a little bit about. Hang on a second here. Oh yeah, we got the notes there from Greg Hawkins. We're 4 points behind in the second wild card. Okay.
Yeah, in the second wild card team.
Yeah, the top 7. I think
we need to get we need to score some goals and win some of these games, right?
Yeah. We just may need to get more points, man. Overall, if we're a win tonight, we effectively are 1 game back. Right. So if the team ahead of us would be the Kings. Oh no, you're talking about the wild card overall. Yeah. Okay. No, I see what you're doing there. Okay. Interesting. I'd love to dive into that more. We'll definitely dive into that a little bit more in a future episode when we cover the Utah. We're a little long on the tooth there for the college football, so we need to cut. We
got to push through.
All right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Utah Jazz. All right, AJ, there was a trade made. There's a trade made. We need to talk about it. So let's first start there. Let's go ahead and talk about the trade. The Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns made a trade, which involved significant amount of draft capital shifting back and forth, right?
Yep.
The Jazz traded 3 of their less valuable first-round picks in 2025, 2027, and 2029 for the Suns' unprotected 2031 first-round pick. The Jazz GM Justin Zanuck explained the rationale behind this trade, stating that the pick had a minimal chance, like all their third round picks, their worst of their first round picks had a chance of becoming a number 1 overall pick. He said that was a minimum chance. I would argue that there's absolutely 0 chance because it's the third worst in all those. It would never be a number 1 pick. So
correct.
That statement.
Very best case would be number 3.
Yeah. So I don't know what Justin Zanuck was saying there, but that's okay. The number one picks, whereas the unprotected 2031 is highly valuable, especially with the Suns are struggling that season. Overall, the trade was a forward-thinking move by the team for the Jazz as they rebuild. What do you think their strategy was here?
Oh, their strategy is absolutely in 2031. That is approximately 6 years from now. Kevin Durant will be retired. Devin Booker will be on the tail end of his career. This Phoenix Suns team will be reeling at that point, right? Phoenix's window for success is 100% right now. And what they're trying to do is gain draft capital so that they can target roster upgrades right now as they push for playoff position. The fact is Phoenix needs to win now while they have Kevin Durant on the tail end of his prime. Yeah, I filled mine up. That's right. So I'm just looking at this. Utah wins this trade by a landslide. You realize that, right? Like, and it's funny because at first glance, when I saw this come through, I was just like, why are we trading 3 picks for 1?
3 first-round picks for 1 first-round pick. Okay.
Yeah, terrible idea.
Well, I don't know. I think there's some flaws in the strategy.
Okay, let's hear it.
First, the Suns aren't. First of all, Devin Booker's not going to be on that team towards that time of time. He's going to be on a different team by the end.
That's exactly. But that's a good thing.
No, because it depends on what he gets traded for. So
who he gets traded for.
Yeah, Devin Booker is going to get traded before the end of that contract. Mark my words, he's gone. He's not there. They're going to trade Bradley Beal this year for somebody. A lot of people are saying it's going to be Jimmy Butler. So the Suns are going to be a good team. They're going to try to be a good team anyway. And, you know, the Suns are just not going to be that bad of a team in 2031 when you're already giving them 3 of the Jazz's first round draft picks.
Yeah, but all these picks are projected to be late 29, 30, like late first rounders.
Okay, so tell me, with the exception of Victor Wembanyama, yeah, I said Antetokounmpo. When was he drafted?
Antetokounmpo?
Yeah, late first round.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah, Booker. When was he drafted?
17.
Yeah, kind of later in the first round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not in the
middle first round. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you also, I mean, go down there. Anthony Edwards. When was he drafted? He wasn't drafted overall first pick.
2 or 3, I think.
Was he a top 3? I thought he was a lot lower than that. Who am I thinking comparing with him?
Yeah, Edwards is pretty high.
Okay. Well, the point I'm trying to make here is that there's a lot of good talent in the end of the first part of the draft. And if you're giving away 3 first-round draft picks, and first of all, the one this year and this loaded draft, that's going to be a good draft pick towards the end of the first draft. That would probably be a second-round draft pick. I'm sorry, that would be in a lottery position next year, right? So the point that I'm trying to make here is that the Jazz will have 3 first-round draft picks they're sending to the Suns, especially that 2025. They're going to be entering their prime. The 2027 will just be on the tail end of that, just coming into that prime. And 2029 will start to really see their the league starts to slow down for you. Thinking about Keontae this year, right?
Yeah.
So in 2031, I don't expect this team to be as bad as we're hoping. Because the problem is the Jazz thought this way too. Like, oh yeah, they're not going to be a good team. Well, neither was Cleveland. They weren't supposed to be a good team. Right. Donovan Mitchell was not supposed to stay with Cleveland, but he did. And so those draft picks are worth practically nothing now. I mean,
they're worth a 2031 first round pick.
Yeah, if you pile them all together, they're worth a 2031 first round pick. But
right.
The Suns are desperately trying to get some draft capital back to fix their team and to help them to rebuild their not their.
But they're trying to fix their team right now, right? They're trying to move these first round picks in part with a player to try to get back a Jimmy Butler to help them in position right now.
I guess that's true. So if you're saying these are draft picks that they're going to shift as draft capital,
exactly,
that would make sense.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm kind of on board.
That's 100% what they're doing.
Okay, I kind of like that. Then you got me convinced there. I appreciate that.
That's what I'm here for.
That helps me a lot.
I'm here to talk you off the ledge, Darren.
That's great. That's good.
Yeah.
Between that and the whiskey, I'm good to go. But yeah, so when it comes to that, there's a few other things that I wanted to comment on that. What else you got on this before I jump into that?
No, I mean, that's exactly it though, right? Like, I mean, Utah's winning this trade by, if there's any potential that this is a number 1 pick, anywhere near a number 1 pick, right? This is a completely unprotected pick in 2031. The fact is we don't know what the 2030 Phoenix Suns teams looks like. Nobody does.
Mm-hmm.
Is Devin Booker still around? Who knows? Kevin Durant's most likely not in the league though. Kevin Durant's 35 years old. He's not going to be in the league in 6 more years.
I think he's older than that.
37, 38.
I think it's 37.
Even furthering my point.
Yeah.
You know what I
Around in
mean?
2 years.
Yeah.
Basically.
So the fact is like with where the Phoenix Suns are, they're currently 10th in the Western Conference, right? They're gathering this draft capital purely for trading and moving talent in right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. There's just a few issues that I have with it that kind of came up while I was researching this topic, and I want to get your take on it.
Okay.
Before we get on that, folks, let us know what you think in the comments down below when it comes to your Utah Jazz. Do you think the Utah Jazz are winning this trade? Do you think this is a smart move by the team to basically kind of trade away a couple draft picks that were going to be a nothing burger for something that's going to be worth it? We want to hear from you. Also, a reminder, folks, we did just start a channel specifically for you Utah Jazz called Utah Jazz DNA. If you have not yet checked out that channel, this is where all of our Utah Jazz content will be posted first. So if you have not yet, subscribe to that channel, and so you can see all the live stuff that we talk about your Utah Jazz. Not everything makes it to the main channel on our DNA Sports Recap. So if you like what you're seeing, you're watching this on DNA Sports Recap, a link to that channel, Utah Jazz DNA, will be below. All right. So when I was researching this, one of the things that came up there, I was listening to Dave Locke's Locked On Jazz podcast, which, by the way, shout out to Dave Locke. Does incredible work. He said something that bothered me.
Okay.
He stated that if you look at this, like this is the first year of our rebuild, which it basically is. I want to unpack that. That statement right there, that worries me. Because David Locke is a guy who's not just a radio broadcaster, not just a guy with a Jazz podcast. This guy is plugged in.
He's an NBA insider.
He's a Utah Jazz specifically insider. Yeah. So if he's saying that the Utah Jazz are seeing this as the first year of a rebuild, that means the Jazz are seeing it as a first year of a rebuild. And I've got news for both of them. We are on year 3, my friend. This is year 3
We've
of
been
a rebuild.
Bad. We've been real bad.
We have been not good. We haven't been playing to win. Not even trying to, at the deadline, we blow it up and do whatever we can to get worse at the trade deadline every year, not get better. Maybe they tried to get better and they just struck out, which would even be sadder. But I take offense with that one there. Like, that we're talking about that. Oh, man, our batter's not on.
Rookie.
Seriously, who's running the show? Seriously, what's going on?
Nobody knows.
See, this is more professional. More professional outfits have a producer going on and handling all this stuff.
That's correct. It's just Darren clicking buttons on the screen.
I want to get back to the comments, man, just in case we lost one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when it comes to that, I don't know, man. That's the thing that bothered me. Where do you think, as far as this team goes, do you see us being on year 3 of a rebuild, or do you see us being year 1?
I think we're probably year about 1.5. Okay. I think the Jazz really realized that they wanted to rebuild about halfway through last season. They realized they had to sign Lauri Markkanen and do an extension. They had too much talent on the team. You know, they realized that early in the last couple of seasons, but they still they weren't convinced that we were good enough to actually be as effective as we were. So I think we're probably about 1.5 years into the technical rebuild, right? So David Locke saying that the Jazz think that we're 1 year into the rebuild, I think is a little bit, I think it's pretty close. Like personally, I think he's pretty close, right? We're probably about 1.5 years into an actual rebuild, because for 2 years, they were still kind of analyzing whether we had enough talent to be successful or whether we needed to move the talent for draft assets. They obviously went the move the talent for draft assets route, and we are where we are now. We're in full tank mode. We're sitting star players to make sure they don't get hurt. We're making sure we're not hurting anybody's ability to be traded or moved. You know, Jordan Clarkson or John Collins, like minimal minutes. Make sure if somebody puts in an offer, we're like, yep, they're good. Send them.
I like it.
Right.
I heard this really good trade offer where the Timberwolves trade for John Collins, and it actually works out where we get
Mike Conley.
No, we don't get a player back from them. It's actually a 3-team deal. We don't get it, but we get 2 drafts. Capital. We get 2 draft picks out of it. But here's my thing about that, man. I will concede that the year after we traded Donovan and Rudy was not a rebuild.
Right. Okay.
Most fans will basically probably shake their hands at their screen or at their phone and be like, F this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This team has sucked for 3 years straight. We're in the 3rd year of a rebuild. I will concede that we are not in year 1, but we are definitely in year 2. The Jazz had a position. The Jazz came out on fire in that first year after we got rid of Rudy and Donovan,
and won way more than they were supposed to.
So they did try and make some moves at the post, and right towards the trade deadline, it did seem like they were gonna make a push, but they did lose a couple games there. Basically, put themselves out of contention for it, and that's when they trade that out. So I will accept that the first year was, but to think that we're only a year and a half into this, or we're in the first year of this, I gotta say I can't agree with that, man. Once you punted on that first trade deadline, when you traded away all your talent, you trade away Mike Conley, you trade away the minivan,
Joe Ingles, George
Joe
Niang.
Ingles, not so really too much on that one, but like when you started trading away these players, for draft capital, when you punted that first year, you signaled that going forward that your team was not going to be putting themselves in a position to compete.
Right.
So
and
I would accept
definitely
that.
Not to win.
Yeah, I would accept that first year, maybe not, but those next 2 years, absolutely, they have tried not to win. They were intentionally trying to lose games last year, and they definitely tried to lose after the trade deadline at the year to try to get Victor Wembanyama, and they fell short of that. The other thing that bothered me there is he was trying to compare that to year one of the rebuild with OKC. And I hear that comparison all the time from Jazz fans, from Jazz commentators about how the Jazz are trying to do the same model that OKC did and how now OKC's in the third year of their rebuild, right? The problem is in the third year of, they might be in year 3, but in year 1, they had SGA in year 1. We don't have an SGA in year 1.
We have Lauri Markkanen,
who's not SGA. He will not be a league MVP any time in his career at all. So no offense to Lauri Markkanen. Absolutely love the guy. But he is not going to be an MVP caliber player, and we don't have one. We simply don't. There's not a young player on this team right now that we know out the gates that's going to be.
But the thing was, I don't think SGA, when they traded for him, I don't think they thought this guy's going to be a star.
Absolutely, they did.
Well, they might have thought that. But the reason that you move somebody for SGA is because you don't think SGA has the potential.
They wanted Paul George really bad for the Clippers. That's why they traded him.
Right.
They're willing to trade good young talent that they knew was going to be an all-star, at the very minimum, an all-star, to get him. And they did. And he flourished into being what he is now. Maybe not necessarily as good, but they knew very well they had a very talented young man on their team, and they traded him for, to get Paul George.
Right.
So the Jazz have not made that trade. The Danny Ainge has not made his trade that got us
SGA.
SGA, or even Tatum or Brown, or like what he did last time. We don't have that. So continuing to compare this rebuild to an OKC and saying, oh, they're trying to mimic that game plan, it really bothers me because the Jazz are nowhere close to being in the same position in year 1 or year 2 to their rebuild that the Oklahoma City Thunder does, because they're right now in year 3. Sure. Are the Jazz going to be the number 1 team in the league next year? No,
not even close.
Or the year after that, probably not either.
Yeah.
Even if they do get Cooper Flagg and AJ Dependza after that, like, are they going to be the number 1 team? No. So it's just a comparison. Just to me, doesn't make any sense. I don't really like it. It's time for the Jazz to stop trying to model themselves after different organizations and doing the same thing they do, and address what they're dealing with in their own market that makes them unique, and capitalize on that. That's just what I think.
No, I agree. I mean, the fact is the Jazz needed to make this decision to move forward with a rebuild about a year and a half ago, right? Like, once you move away from Donovan, you move away from you need to say, okay, straight into the tank.
Yeah.
Move every bit of talent for every single draft asset you can get. Let's go forward. Let's foot down, worst team in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
They could have done this 2 years ago and saved a whole year on Lauri's prime.
Yeah, they could have saved a whole year on Lauri's prime. They could have landed Victor. And let's say he desperately wanted to be in San Antonio. That's great. We'll trade you.
Yeah.
So it's going to be in a position there where the Jazz just are, again, not realizing their market and putting themselves in a heart. They feel like, I think the Jazz don't realize they can't play this game the same way as other teams.
No,
they're in a unique position where they have to do unique things to get players to come here, and they're still trying to play.
It's called draft them.
Yeah, maybe once. I mean, Minnesota's not exactly the destination city of the world, but a bunch of players want to go there. You know why? Because they're winning. So I think the Jazz need to kind of understand that.
And they've got a lot of good former Utah Jazz players.
A lot of good former Utah Jazz players that people actually want to play with.
Yep.
So anyway.
Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, Joe Ingles, Nikhil Alexander Walker. Those four or five previous Jazz players.
Yeah, the Midwest Utah Jazz
Yeah.
right there for sure.
Yep.
You keep bumping your mic, dude. That's
I'm
gonna sound
sorry.
crappy in the audio. You keep hitting the
It's
cord.
in my way, and I'm excited.
Well, once again, folks, if you have not yet, check out Utah Jazz DNA. It is our Jazz channel for all of your Utah Jazz content. We're going to post all of our content on the Utah Jazz here first. So if you have not yet, hit that subscribe button. Your Utah Jazz DNA. A link to that channel will be below. All right, man. What do you say? We pivot on over and talk a little bit about Major League Baseball?
Yeah, we this has been a long episode, Darren.
We do like hour and 45-minute episodes. I don't know.
That's just how we roll now.
It's just how we do it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
Yeah. I think if we do, we can probably.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Major League Baseball here. First, let's go ahead and talk about what has happened over the last couple of weeks here. Do you want to intro this when we talk about the Dodgers rotation?
Yeah. Let's just do the first one. Let's just do the pitching rotation. We'll save the next one for next week because that one is going to keep going. Maybe it'll even add some fuel to the fire next week because I'm sure the Dodgers are probably going to sign 15 more people between now and next Wednesday.
Okay. Go ahead and run the intro.
Okay. So the LA Dodgers, Greg Hawkins, I was just messaging you about this earlier this week, have now have a ridiculous pitching rotation. It's going to feature quite the dominant lineup of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell, a guy previously known, he did a little bit of pitching, mostly batting, Shohei Ohtani, and then a Japanese superstar by the name of Roki Sasaki. They also go on to sign a couple of relievers, Kirby Yates, Tanner Scott. It doesn't end. Why, Darren? And how did the Dodgers get to this point?
Okay, first let's talk about this comment here from Greg Hawkins because, dude, you're just my boy there. This one first. Trade the Jazz for an MLB team. I'm close.
At this point, I'm in.
With the way this team's playing and the way they're running the franchise, I'm close. I'm a big Jazz fan. I can't do that. But anyway, I'm quite on board there. The Dodgers are like the New York Yankees of baseball. I love it. The Dodgers are like the New York Yankees of baseball. That's great. That's great. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the starting rotation. Let's break it down what it looks like. Okay. That's what I thought we were going to be talking about. I don't know how you.
Yeah, that. I had to throw in Yates and Scott because it's like, what the?
How did we get here? That's what the question you asked me.
Yeah.
So you just said how we got here. You mentioned the signing.
How did they get everybody, Darren? Not just a couple people. They signed everybody.
Do we want it? We got to focus on the rotation. You keep talking about what you think you want to kick the can down the road.
We're gonna kick it just because we're already.
Then why are you asking about it? And why are you bringing it up? Okay, so let's go ahead and focus on the Dodgers rotation, shall we?
Yep.
Okay, so the Dodgers starting rotation looks a little bit like this. So you got all the players you mentioned there, and we'll talk about their contracts here in a minute if you like. But for what it comes from the Dodgers rotation, what it looks like is you got Blake Snell as your number one game starter, right?
Opening day,
game one starter.
Blake Snell.
Yeah.
Okay.
2-time Cy Young Award winner.
Can't argue it.
Fight me. Like, I don't know who can argue with that. You really can't. Sorry. Blake Snell gets the ball game one start. 2-time Cy Young Award winner and our biggest signing of the offseason. Well, for at least this year. Anyway.
Arguably, yeah.
Arguably. There's a lot of signings. But when it comes to that, so you got Blake Snell as your starter. Game two starter is going to be Tyler Glasnow. So he's your number two. You got Yoshinobu Yamamoto as game three. And then you got your fourth and fifth starter going to be Tony Gonsolin and Dustin May.
Okay.
Notice all the pitchers I did not mention that you mentioned.
Yes, that's correct.
So these five are going to be your five. And also keep in mind the Dodgers will have a 6-pitcher rotation this year. So maybe you see Roki Sasaki in the back end of that. Maybe. Keep in mind he signed a minor league contract with an $8 million signing bonus. So odds are he might spend a little time, at least at the beginning of the year. He probably will travel with the team to Tokyo to play against the Cubs in Tokyo. So that might be
assuming so. Yeah.
Assuming he's going to be there. He's probably not going to pitch in those first two games, but that's the rotation of how it's going to look right now. Because one, you've got Shohei Ohtani, who's not going to be ready to pitch until May because he tore his shoulder, sliding into second base, and also you have the GOAT, Clayton Kershaw, who's also more than likely going to be signing with this team and come back. That also leaves out Landon Knack, Emmett Sheehan are both going to have to start in the minor leagues, barring injury. So, knowing the knowing the Los Angeles Dodgers, there's probably going to be placing some players on injury on the injured list. Like
just hit the IR 45-day or whatever.
Yeah, if like 15 pitchers we had to do that to last year, probably going to happen again this season. So keep in mind that's if everybody's healthy and happy. That's what you're going to rotation be. Snell number 1, Glasnow number 2, Yamamoto 3rd, Gonsolin 4, Dustin May 5, maybe Roki 6. That's how I see it breaking down. Questions, thoughts, concerns?
I mean, I really kind of hope that Roki does just fall into the starting rotation. I mean, if you're the Dodgers, what risk is there that, I mean, do you think he's not ready to pitch in Major League Baseball yet?
I don't know.
I mean, and even if he's not, aren't you okay with giving him the experience and letting him pitch every 6th game?
So he's not Ohtani. Ohtani was a bat too.
Exactly. He's just a pitcher.
Yes.
Right.
So a minor league international player, when they come out before there's 25, could only sign a minor league contract. So technically, just for the whole sake of argument, he goes into spring training as a minor league player.
Right.
That's why on his announcement video, he said, I signed a minor league contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Well, but he couldn't sign a major league contract because of his age, though, right?
Yeah.
Because at 23 years old, you technically can't sign a major league contract.
Yeah, that's why they got him for,
$8 million. Exactly.
Peanuts,
But I mean, the fact is you have 3 pitchers on this roster that are ace level starters anywhere else they go. You know what I mean? Tyler Glasnow, opening day starter.
Mhm.
Obviously, Blake Snell. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, even Yamamoto, you send him to the right team, he's going to be the opening day starter as well.
Yeah.
So 3 to 4 guys who are open, and obviously Ohtani's not healthy opening day for the Dodgers, but I think with that, I think you'd be crazy not to put Sasaki in that starting 6 rotation and just let him go out there. And even if the thing is Yamamoto didn't look great in some of his openers. Right. I mean, his first couple of games, he didn't look great. Well, he got better as the season progressed. And I think you have to give them that experience to see, okay, these guys are better hitters than they are in the NPR.
Yeah. Well, it's also the ball's different. The mounds are different.
Lots. Yeah. There's lots to change. Yeah.
But that's what I have going on with the season opens. Now let's talk about May. Not Dustin May, the month.
The month of May.
The month of May.
Okay.
So in May, Shohei Ohtani is projected to be ready to go, and Clayton Kershaw will probably be ready to go as well.
Correct.
So at that time, this is what my rotation looks like for the rest of the season, barring injury. Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani, Clayton Kershaw, Roki Sasaki.
So you definitely put him in if you've got an eight person rotation, right?
That's 6.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a 6-person rotation. You got Snell, Glasnow, Yamamoto, Ohtani, Kershaw, Sasaki. That's 6.
I'm obviously really bad at counting. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Add 2, 7. Maybe I missed one.
Yeah. So you got Blake Snell. That's 1. Tyler Glasnow 2. Yamamoto 3. Shohei Ohtani 4. Kershaw 5. Sasaki 6.
Okay, I got you. So you're saying that Gonsolin and May probably not in the rotation at that point.
No, unfortunately, unless they do something crazy or unless barring injury, unless they pitch out of their minds, which Gonsolin has done before. The Catman did make an all-star game. So I do see that either A, they trade those players away and give them the opportunity to be.
He also signed Dustin Miller, didn't? Or Bobby Miller?
Bobby Miller was with the team already.
Oh, he was already with the team?
Yeah, he just hurt. So I don't know. I don't think he's with the team. I think he's got to start in minor leagues and kind of figure out what's going on.
They probably keep him in his depth, kind of see how health goes and that kind of stuff.
If he's doing well, then
end depth. Yeah.
Well, that just talks about, you just brought it up perfectly. What does that mean for Gonsolin, May, Landon Knack, Emmett Sheehan, and Bobby Miller? Those are 4 starters that would be like 2 or 3 guys on any other rotation in Major League Baseball. What do you do with those
rotation pitchers, dude?
Yeah, those are good dudes.
Yeah.
So what I think happens is that I think May ends up being a closer, man. He goes to the back of the bullpen type thing. He just can't stay healthy as a starter.
Is he going to have a rotation in the bullpen?
He'll have a spot, but we're not talking about that today. So we can't talk about that because that's not the rotation. So we're not talking about it. We'll touch on it a little bit for sure. But yeah, so when it comes to the bullpen there, again, they did Again, I think they did the most important thing they needed to do in the offside, which is re-sign Blake Treinen. That guy was easily the second best reliever in all of baseball.
If you have not seen Blake Treinen's pitching overlays, they're stupid.
Yeah.
Watch it.
It's gross, man.
It's disgusting. Absolutely gross. Disgusting.
We got Greg Hawkins jumping in here saying that's the last comment.
Yep.
Kinley Cutler says, sorry, a little late on this comment, but the Jazz are trading those picks. The Jazz didn't have enough roster spots or minutes
to bring in 3 rookies every other year.
Yeah, that's true. They did it 2 years in a row. So yeah, it's like they didn't. We both said on our first draft video, which did very well on the channel. Thank you guys very much on our very first. When we first started off, that was one of our highest performing videos. You and I both thought they were at least going to trade at least one of those picks, at least.
And they kept all 3 of them.
You thought they were going to trade 2. Yeah. So it was crazy that they kept all 3. And then the next year they kept all 3 of those too. They didn't. Yeah. So we got 6. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. We also have another comment from McKinley there on that one. OKC has the same problem that they have too many draft picks that can't use for the roster. It's to consolidate or spend them. So that's kind of, I like what you're saying there, but the difference is they already are the best team in the,
arguably the best team in the Western Conference. Absolutely.
They're the best team in the Western Conference right now. So that's a problem you want to have as that. That's a good problem to have, Oh, my wallet can't fit all these $100 bills and my diamond shoes are too tight.
How would it be?
Shout out to Chandler Bing on that one. But yeah, it's a good problem to have on that one. They would probably trade a lot of those assets for depth. And it's also just smart to kind of trade those for other assets to kick down the road. I think the Jazz, while they do have that similar issue, I think the Jazz haven't gotten that player yet. And maybe it's not as smart of an idea to trade late first round draft picks where you don't have your guaranteed number 1 guy. So I don't know. I just think it's a little different. But yeah, so again, speaking on that, we'd love to hear from you folks there on the comments. Let us know what you think as far as when it comes to Major League Baseball with the Dodgers there on their starting rotation. Are you on board with me on the Dodgers starting rotation? Do you see any other additions or any changes happening to the Dodgers? Keep in mind the Dodgers did bring a bunch of pitchers into the season last year.
We'll talk about them next week, or we'll talk about maybe we'll talk about bullpen next week.
Yeah.
Dodgers bullpen next week.
Well, no, we need because that's the other topic. Dodgers ruining baseball part 2. That's a tease for next week. Dodgers ruining baseball part 2. Be sure to tune in next week for that. But we'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Let us know what you think when it comes to that. Is this the same rotation you have? Let us know what you think. If there's anything I missed, let me know in the comments down below what you think of that. With all that said, my name is Darren. That is AJ. And this has been an episode of the DNA Sports Recap.
Till next time.